Hi, we are going to look at how I am going to paint this image. I call this the fantasy forest in kind of glowing, where there's some light sparkles inside the forest. The color chosen is purple, monochromatic. So you can see there are different hues of purple for the color, and in the foreground, like in the front, I have some big grass, and then near the midground is the bushes, and here is the path, or the base like the base foreground, and behind are the trees, and then behind the tree again is I add some grass leaves, and then the sky is more like a gradient from a purple color to a very light purple color towards the bottom, where there's kind of a glow towards the bottom, and yeah, and then the last element is the light sparkles, to make it like a fantasy scene where there's glowing stuff. And I am going to show you how I make all of this inside Ibis Paint X. I am now at Ibis Paint X. The brushes I use, here are the layers I've created for each element that I painted in the picture. So for the brushes, most of it I am using watercolor bleed. I am using pen fade for base color, and I'm also using airbrush to blend things and all that. And then I'm also using these special brushes, which are the grass brush, and yeah, this grass brush, and also this is a custom one I made, and but inside Ibis Paint X, okay, I can type grass, and I'm using this one, the basic grass, and then I'm also using this, the basic fern grass. And for the bushes, I using my own custom brush, which is this one. So the main so it's kind of look like this for the bushes that I created. That's the main brush. Now let's go over to the layers on how I'm going to paint this. So first, the sky. Let's disable. Let's hide everything. So first, the sky color painted towards the top of this canvas. So as you can see, I have only one layer, and it's a gradient of a purple. See, the below is quite light, and on top is quite towards a saturated purple and a bit of a darker tone. And I am using airbrush for this one. Next is the foreground, which is also the base color. I can erase this. Which is the foreground, and is a base color of purple, and so the color hue is about in a mid-tone purple and is quite saturated. And then that's the base. The next one is should be the path. This is what the path looks like. The first layer is this dark colored. The second layer, but is behind the first layer, is a lighter color of purple, and then layer 8 is a lighter toned of lighter shade of purple, and then layer 7 is kind of the bright more bright colored purple to show the base of the forest, or like the grass, or in kind of a path. Okay, and then next I would like to enable the tree. So this is the tree layer. I have two separate layers for this one. Okay, so the first one is the base darker darker purple, where it is positioned towards the front. It appears to be in front on the rest of the trees, and it has a much darker color purple, as you can see. And for the clipping mask, this is the shadow layer, and this is the light layer. And the second base color is the behind tree. The base color, this is the shadows and highlights layer. So I using the watercolor pen bead to put in the dark and the light colors. And then let's go to next one, the bush. There are okay, so I disable this first, hide this. So this is the first bush layer. Okay, this is the first bush, and I add the second one on the right side, and then just add the third one and the fourth one. And then this is the grass special brush that I use to fill in the foreground. Next, I'm going to enable this glow. Okay, see the glow. This is the glow layer. This is using the star brush, this the light brush, this one, to make each of them kind of glow. And I used a Gaussian blur, and then I set it to to screen and color of a dodge, and then I blur it again with Gaussian blur, and then I merge all them together to have this glow effect. Next, this is the light coming towards the bottom of the canvas toward the top, yeah. And then the light, I also have the fern layer, so I just fill in more grass behind the tree, just to fill in more things. And then last layer is I use an overlay. When I set it to overlay, this layer is I use an airbrush to towards the pink, towards a bright pink and a dark purple. If I set it to normal, you can see that I'm using an airbrush to paint in light purple and dark purple, and then I set it to overlay to give it some more kind of effect, color, make it kind of pop up a little bit more, and then I set opacity to 50%. And last layer is the adjustment layer, which is the tone curve adjustment layer. I use it to bring out the shadows a bit more. I can adjust. This is the S curve that I'm using. That's it for the layers and brushes. I am going to show you the video. To show you the video of I was testing out some sketches to make the kind of fantasy scene, but I'm not going to use this. I I'm using forests and I also tried some using grids to decide what kind of layout I want, but at the end of the painting I was just using a simple 1 point perspective, and the scene is in the forest. And I start to sketch out the layout for the forest scene. I start with painting in the base color for the tree, and I clean up some of the excess of the lines for the tree. And for the tree that appears to be behind near the background, I've chosen a lighter color purple, so it's more towards the different tones of purple is less saturated than the tree in front and is less dense. So I'm continue to paint in the base color for the tree near the background, and I paint in the sky with purple color, and I want it to towards the bottom of the sky is much more bright, and I continue to paint in the bush with different and different color of purple. I paint it in the puffed base color where it's going to be dark near the foreground and it gets lighter towards the end of the canvas, and I try to add in more grass behind the trees or around the tree. And I can quickly draw the lines for the path. And I add glue light at the back on the sky, towards the fern grass, and I add in the shadows and highlights for the trees. This is the overlay layer, and I add some lights to make the forest glow. And so that's how I paint the fantasy forest. I've come to the end of the video. Thank you. I see you in the next painting video.